Morgan State University, please help me in welcoming one of our very own, the Honorable Catherine Pugh.
Thank you all. Thank you very much. I'm going to actually try to pull this out. Let me first acknowledge that Calvin Ball, our newly elected Howard County Executive, was here. Y'all give him a round of applause. I know he had to leave. And to our chair, thank you so much for all the work that you do all the time on behalf of all of us, Morganites to come. And Mr. President, thank you so much for all that you've done for all of us. And Stan, it's so good to see you all the time. I actually have a picture of you and I standing together as MCs of some program. I'll show it to you one day.
Was that 40 years ago when we were
No,
teenagers?
I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe 40 years for you, not for me. And let me just say to all of the students, congratulations. I don't think you could have chosen a better place to be. Let me first give honor and praise to God for the privilege to be with you all this morning. To honor such outstanding individuals in this community, who in my opinion, and I'm sure many others, embody the spirit and courage of the late, great Martin Luther King Jr., for whom this 34th scholarship breakfast is named, who once said, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in the moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge, of controversy." Judge Deborah A. Robinson, retired Maryland State Parole Commissioner, Mr. Jasper R. Clay Jr., my good friend, Mrs. Erica Bridgeforth, Mrs. Charlotte T. Franklin, Dr. Edwin T. Johnson, congratulations. Let's give them another big round of applause. The theme of this morning's breakfast is we must remember that intelligence is not enough. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education, said Martin Luther King. I believe it is also important to share with you the other part of this quote, and that is, complete education gives one not only power of concentration, but worthy objectives upon which to concentrate. The broad education will do that. Therefore, transmit to one not only the accumulated knowledge of the race, but also the accumulated experience of social living. Give me just a few minutes, you all, please, to pay homage to this university, Morgan State University, the institution where I entered as a teenager and emerged as an adult. This institution where I grew up. It is the institution that prepared me for my journey. This university that educated me. I have to give my parents, Dr. Wilson, some credit here too. They taught me to be confident, to be strong, to be of great character, to be a critical thinker, to love others, to be understanding, to listen, because in the listening comes learning, to hear, to be empathetic, but also to be decisive. Morgan State University, through its teachings, showed us through examples what success required, what success could be, what success looked like. This institution challenged us to pursue dreams, to be excellent, to stand in the gap. It taught us to think beyond our moments. It encouraged us as students to be the change we wanted to see. Morgan State University prepares its students past, present, and future to lead. Martin Luther King Jr. said, and I quote, "Education must enable," and I'm sure he was meaning a man and a woman, "to become more efficient, to achieve with increasing facility the legitimate goals of their life. As I stand here today, I think it is also important to thank all of you who are here, present here today, and to share with you why this breakfast, this 34th Martin Luther King Jr. breakfast that honors the Nobel Prize winner and renowned civil rights leader Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is so important. Martin Luther King Jr. was a true believer that educating our children would be the equalizer to a better life. He fought to change the discriminatory practices of the nation and this world. He fought to see that we were all given access to opportunity and that we not be judged by the color of our skin, but the content of our character. He believed, as most of you here today believe, that equal access is important, but so are equal resources, which is why we fight for fair funding of our institutions and will fight until this country gets it right. We don't shut our doors to other races, we welcome them with open arms. But we know that this institution and institutions like it, Morgan State University, do a grand job in preparing our children for the future. This institution graduates more black engineers than any other institution or college or university in this nation. I think that also includes architects. I came to Morgan like many. I was one of 7 children whose parents are smiling down on me today because they met their goal. And that was to have all 7 of their children earn a high school diploma because that was more than both of them had. They, as my dad would often say, provided us with a roof over our heads, good food, because he was a cook in the army and my mother was the queen of the kitchen. School clothes and dressed us in our finest for church every Sunday. They also provided something else, weekly trips to the library, where we could check out 2 books each, and the World Book Encyclopedia. Young people, for your information, that was our Google back in the day. The answer to anything you wanted to know. That's what my parents would tell me. If I asked my dad where the Antarctica Ocean was, he said, go get the World Book Encyclopedia. If I asked my mother to tell me more about George Washington Carver, she said, go get C, the World Book Encyclopedia. What do you think we bought them for? Those books, those trips, my mother taught me to read by the time I was 3. And those trips to the library gave me a thirst for learning, and I wanted more. College. I came to Morgan after a summer of working 2 jobs with my earnings, grants, and loans because I wanted to be here. So many students arrive on our doorsteps without anything. So many capable, qualified, prepared students with a thirst for learning and a dream of success. And we've had to turn too many away. Our children need us. They need your support. So for all of those who will arrive in need of a scholarship and support, I say thank you. Martin Luther King Jr. said, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing for others? Thank you again for doing, because you are assuring that any child or somebody's child who knocks on the doors of this institution with dreams and aspirations can enter, learn, leave, and achieve. In preparing for today, I also gave thought to what would Martin Luther King Jr. say today if he were alive? What would he be doing? What would he be thinking? Because on January the 15th, he would be 90 years old. And today we can say 90 years young. I think in some ways he would be proud. Certainly he would have been instrumental in helping us to elect the first African American president of these United States, Barack Obama. He would be standing with us and siding with the courts that there has been, and I quote, long-standing disparities in state higher education funding for historically black colleges and universities. We also know that Martin Luther King Jr. spoke with presidents, sat with presidents, walked with presidents, and talked with presidents. I think he would be at the White House today. Trying to bring reason to someone who seems unreasonable. And for the young lady who's going to work for the federal government, trying to get those doors back open, because we want them to be open when you get there. He would be talking to him about being fair and just to all that live here and to all that want to be a part of the great fabric that we call the United States of America. I think at the same time he would be deeply disappointed in the state of our communities of Baltimore, as I was and am as its 50th mayor. But like him, I would not be without hope or solutions. The painstaking taking of life that just recently, in a domestic violence case, saw a father shooting at a boyfriend graze his own 2-year-old son. A lack of trust. I believe that Martin Luther King Jr. would challenge our communities to restore our moral fiber, to embrace one another, to build trust and love among one another. In his own words, Martin Luther King Jr. said, "I believe that unarmed truth and conditional love will have the final word in reality." Today we face in this city tremendous opportunity and many challenges. They are not challenges we can ignore, but must face. While crime trended downward in 2018 with 309 homicides, the actual number being 296, because believe it or not, with 13 other murders that we have to carry over from people who got shot as far back as 1995. One life lost in this city is one life too many. Too many illegal guns on the streets of our city and too many people unable to find their way to a better life. We can help, are helping, creating programs to get people training on the job, not training to the job. One day's work for one day's pay, trying to get those who are returning from prison ways back into our economy, getting them off of our corners so we can work with them. Drug addiction and the lifestyle that surrounds it has crippled many in our communities. But working together, we can provide sustainable solutions. We've created a $52 million neighborhood investment fund that is now up to almost $80 million because I said, we would not sell off the city's assets like y'all did in 1972 when you sold the city's airport for $36 million 40 years ago. Can you imagine if we owned our airport? It would be to Baltimore what Atlanta's airport is to Atlanta, Georgia. I said no, because I thought it was more important to hold on to our assets. And so what I did do, Erica, was that I leased our garages. We owned them. We still derive income from them. And then I floated bonds and capitalized them because I wanted America to know that we are serious about investing in neighborhoods that have been underinvested in for decades. Park Heights, Sandtown, Winchester, you can name them, Drew Heights, you see them. East Baltimore, you see it. And so I wanted folks to know how serious we are about this. And so now that Neighborhood Investment Fund is up to $80 million. My goal is $200 million a year for the next 5 years, $1 billion. That's what it's going to take to transform Baltimore. We are one of 6 cities in the country that received a Promised Neighborhood grant of $35 million that will attract over $800 million that will change East Baltimore. We are 28% of the state's opportunity zones, and I know everybody doesn't have a clarification of what that all means, but I can tell you, when I heard it in 2017, I immediately came back to the city and said, hey, you all, let's get it together. We were the first jurisdiction in the state to submit our proposal, 44 areas to be opportunity zones in the state, and 42 were approved. We just got our first $17 million investment. Bramble, who is doing your project, is doing another project over in East Baltimore, a brother. We are going to build a new library in Park Heights, an underserved community. And I want to take a moment to give a shout out. I know he's not here, to George Mitchell, who, in spite of what everybody said he couldn't do, did it anyway.
That's right.
He said, y'all might want to shut down this school, but we're going to have some school up in here anyway, over in West Baltimore. Thank you, George Mitchell. We are building 28 new schools. 7 of them opened last year. And we're on target to build the other 21, but believe me, that is not enough when you got over 180 schools in this city, and schools sitting without air conditioning and proper heating. It is unconscionable, the lack of investment that this city has made in its own infrastructure. And I know people are pissed about water increases. Pissed, you should be. But that is a lack of investment for decades in the city, and they keep kicking the can down the street because they want to play politics. And I'm sorry, you all, I can't be concerned about the next election. I have to be concerned about now, because I stood in those neighborhoods and communities when water has risen up. And I never forget coming in contact with this gentleman, and he said, I'm retired. How am I going to fix my yard? My car got flooded. And I told him, we'll come back and do it. The city didn't have to do it, but I said, we'll come back and do it. And when I came back, he said, I didn't believe you at first, but you came back. And so, I'll work it out, I'll figure it out. But at the same time, we've got to do right by people in our city. We are restoring at least 10 pools in the city. Unbelievable. Shut down for decades in neighborhoods and communities because the motor didn't work. The motor didn't work. Fix the motor, $4.1 million, we'll fix it. But now young people in our city be able to swim for free. And thank you in that introduction. You're right, we did hire 9,000 young people this past year. But 3,000 other young people didn't get to go to work this summer because I raised $20 million. It wasn't quite enough to get all of them working. And so I'm calling on everybody and anybody, including the faith community, once a month on a Sunday, take up a collection so we can put our young people to work. Everybody has got to lean in. Don't ask what we're not doing, ask what you're doing, like you all are doing today. We made Baltimore City Community College free because I got tired of looking in the eyes of children who didn't have hope. And now when I walk down the halls of schools and children say, Mayor, I'm a Mayor Scholar, because that's what we call the program. I'm going to Baltimore City Community College free. So when they leave there and they come here, they are so prepared to learn. And finally, as Martin Luther King Jr. said, change does not roll in on the wheels of inevitability, but comes through continuous struggle. Continuous struggle. And finally, he said, there comes a time when one must take a position that neither safe nor politics nor popular, but he must do it or she must do it. She must do it.
She must.
She must. Y'all can say it with me. She must.
She must.
Because conscience tells her it is right. That time is now. Thank you for standing with our future students and our students here today in their time of need. Thank you for supporting one of the greatest institutions in this country, Morgan State University. And thank you for remembering one of the greatest leaders who has ever lived, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And on January the 15th, we all get to say, happy birthday, Martin. Thank you all for this honor.
Doing it real quick.